The homelessness epidemic is inescapable.
Enforcing its ban on homeless people.
Is there nowhere else to go? Is there just nowhere else that they want to go?
Our city deserves to hold people accountable to bad behavior.
Voters fed up with rising homelessness.
Clear them out.
The push to ship out, arrest, and get homeless people out of sight is gaining alarming support across the U.S.
The other developing headline we're watching here tonight, what critics call a ban on homelessness, now law in the Sunshine State. Governor Ron DeSantis signing a bill this morning to restrict camping in public spaces.
Governor criminalizing sleeping in public spaces.
And in the coming months, protections against criminalization may be overturned in the Supreme Court.
Do I protect myself from the elements and risk going to jail, or do I not and risk hypothermia and dying?
We'll ban urban camping. Violators of these bans will be arrested. We will then open up large parcels of inexpensive land where the homeless can be relocated.
Rather than addressing the structural inequities causing homelessness, many politicians from both parties and at all levels ignore proven solutions to homelessness.
Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel here. It's me here, and today I'm back with another anti-capitalism true crime deep dive video. Today I want to talk about the topic of pure evil, how removing homeless encampments became a over $100 million business industry. But before we get started into this topic, all my YouTube videos that are related to this topic right now will be on the screen right now, as well as in the description if you'd like to check them out. So let's get started into this YouTube video topic. On an October morning, a very small army arrived to evict Rudy Ortega from his home in the crash zone, an encampment located near the end of the airport runway in San Jose, California, Silicon Valley's largest city. As jets roared overhead, garbage trucks and police squad cars encircled Ortega's hand-built shelter. Heavy machinery operatives stood by for the signal to bulldoze Ortega's camp. As the workers closed in, Ortega grew increasingly upset. The camp, one of the largest in California, was cleared between 2021 and 2023, in part by a private company named Tucker Construction. Public spending on private sweep contractors is soaring across California. In total, private firms have been paid at least $100 million to clear up homeless encampments. An investigation by The Guardian has found the 14 monopolies in public agencies from which spending details could be obtained represent a small slice of such spending in the state. Astrid Stromberg, who oversees apps for Tucker, says its business has expanded dramatically since 2020. Pete White, the founder of Los Angeles Community Action Network, a homeless advocacy group based in Skid Row, says he's observed a steady increase in privatization of sweeps in recent years. The growth of a private industry geared towards removing and dismantling informal settlements and homelessness encampments has grown steadily in Los Angeles and all across the country, said White. Not only are we seeing a growth in the loss of property, but also the loss of rights. Ongoing or recent court cases allege the destruction of belongings and sweeps violates the Fourth Amendment, which protects against unreasonable search and seizure, and the 14th Amendment, which guarantees a due process under the law. A case currently before the U.S. Supreme Court also argues that laws banning homeless people from camping and sleeping in public spaces violates the 8th Amendment, which safeguards against cruel and unusual punishment by government actors. Some of these cases are persuading courts. A case in San Francisco, for instance, has resulted in a citywide injunction against sweeps while the city has a storage of shelter beds. In 2021 case in Los Angeles, a federal appeal court ruled that every mattress, couch, and shack removed by crews must be preserved, but the issue remains a legal gray area. You feel devastated, you feel a rush, you feel like your whole world's crumbling down, said Aguilar, who works at a restaurant cleaning and washing dishes. During the clearance of the crash zone, she alleges Tucker Crews violated city policies by disposing of her items she had asked to keep, including key fobs for her car and her daughter's car. It's not so much the loss of the material things, but they are the only things you own. dusty fields of the crash zone once had houses on them, and including where Ortega's family lived. He was born in 1976. Around this time, the neighborhood was deemed unsafe for habitation by virtue of its proximity to the runway. By the early 80s, 630 homes were bulldozed from that area in sight. Ortega moved to the camp after losing his job as a property manager. At the time, there were just a smatting of tents across the fields. When the population of the camp exploded to about 300 people in the first year of the pandemic, the Federal Aviation Administration said it would withhold funding for airport improvement projects if the city didn't clear it out. In recent years, California has approved more than $700 million of funding for camp clearance, part of its strategy for grappling with a growing unsheltered homeless population of over 123,000. According to a recent count, The Guardian sent public record requests to dozens of local jurisdictions and public agencies. The requests focused on the state's 5 largest cities and also on Silicon Valley. The records show that the firms vying for contracts to sweep encampments in California include mid-sized construction companies that also do home renovations, as well as large environmental services firms that specialize in cleaning up hazardous waste and responding to public emergencies. The company Ocean Blue, for instance, says on its website it's cleared out more than 300 encampments in a year in Southern California. Because of our specialty in handling biohazardous waste, Tucker Construction was founded more than 40 years ago by a longtime San Jose resident, Mark Tucker. The company's portfolio includes remodeling kitchens and building public work projects for the city. Stromberg said the expansion to sweeps started with a call from the city to clean out a hoarder's house and grew from the included camp cleanups. Some of Tucker's employees are formerly unhoused themselves and homeless themselves formerly. Stromberg said, according to public records, the city's contracts and purchase orders with Tucker totaled more than $10 million. In the past decade, part of this money was drawn from a federal emergency funds intended to combat COVID-19 pandemic. This is despite the fact the city publicly stated it would not displace people during the pandemic, per Centers of Disease Control and Prevention guidelines. When asked about the use of the funds, the city said that camp clearances were necessary to reduce the risk of COVID spreading among inhabitants, among other reasons. Across California, the largest single contract deal on earth was a $23 million deal with Sind Group, a major construction firm, to clear camps along the state-mandated roads in the cities of Berkeley, Oakland, and Emeryville. At the other end of the scale, the city of Santa Clara, a suburb of San Jose, signed a 3.5-year, $1 million contract with Tucker in 2019, despite having documented only 264 unsheltered residents at that time. The pain and destruction of sweeps and capitalism misery. For homeless people, these sweeps take an enormous toll. They allege that private companies as Tucker are breaking the law and breaking rules intended to assure they are treated fairly, with many unhoused residents report being swept over and over again, often multiple times in a year. Modeling based on data collected in Boston has shown that hospitalization and death rates are expected to increase significantly among encampment residents after sweeps. Researchers projected that overdoses would rise 30%, for instance. A study of the health impacts of sweeps in Santa Clara County, where the crash zone is located, found that unhoused residents often lost medications and other health necessities, and sweeps drove unhoused people into hazardous, isolated, less visible spaces. Sometimes they're even arrested and put in jail because the United States is a fascist regime and, they support capitalism that puts, profits over lives on a daily basis. The United States is taking away women's rights. They're taking away abortion rights. They're punishing women, putting them in prison for having an abortion. And now they're trying to make it illegal to be homeless in public, At the crash zone, a couple named Teresa and Dave lost a bike and furniture. A man named Jose lost scrap metal he sells for income. Fruto Meta lost the tent he was sleeping in. Rudy estimates he lost about $5,000 worth of personal property and says that he lost his trust in the city. Ortega eventually had to stay in court, unable to find a law firm willing to take on his case. He represented himself. He requested a temporary restraining order to prevent his belongings from being taken during an upcoming sweep. The judge granted a series of hearings and told the city to let Ortega stay while his case was being heard. The judge expressed sympathy for Ortega's situation and instructed the city to repair the second-hand camper that Ortega had obtained and tow it to a location that was not slated for active sweeping. He said the city had to ensure that any possessions that could not fit in the camper were safely stowed in a self-storage facility container nearby. Ortega saw it as a small victory, but the legal pressure doesn't seem to have made a difference as he observes ongoing sweepings in the area of San Jose. They're still doing the same thing, he says, just quieter, trying not to bring attention as to what is going on and hiding their capitalism atrocities.